What's going on, guys? I'm back with another video, and the first thing you might be wondering is why the heck am I looking at film of Madden while the title of the thing is named Top 10 Quarterbacks Ever? The reason for this is because I'm way too lazy to actually find film of all of these quarterbacks. So what I did, I'm really tricky. Wait till you hear this. I played a game of Madden, recorded it, and that's going to be my entire video. So, congratulations for clicking on this. No, but don't click off. Don't click off. Your attention. But yeah. So I am gonna be listing my top 10 quarterbacks. Now, why am I doing this? Well, the number one reason is I love getting comments on my videos. I love when you guys comment different opinions and different things about my videos. Um, See, I haven't been getting a lot of comments lately, and there's only one thing that can truly stir up football fans more than anything, and that is a highly controversial top 10 quarterbacks list, and that is what I made today, okay? Now, let's keep it civil in the comments, okay? We don't want anything offensive. We don't want people insulting each other. You can insult me if you want, but don't insult other people, okay? Good. Okay, now the last thing that I want to say before I just get right into it is how I actually came up with what I came up with. So, first of all, there's three quarterbacks from each era of football. And what I mean by that is there's three quarterbacks from the 60s and before, and maybe some 70s. Then there's the 80s slash some 90s, and then the 2000s. I think that was a fair way to put it. And then there's actually four from the 2000s, just because I felt like it. Three from the others. And, yeah, so when you see people that you've never heard of from, like, 1935, you have to put them on. Because guess what? Like, 100 years from now, people are going to be saying, what the heck? Why did we put Tom Brady on this list? Who even was that? He played with a helmet? We play with, like, digital technology. So you have to put them on, okay? So you're not gonna like some of these, okay? But you have to put them on. Also remember, there are gonna be some very big names that are not on this list. Remember, there are only 10, okay? And three of them have to be like before the 60s. So please give me some slack, okay? Now, the final thing I'm gonna say is I based this off of 6 stats that I thought were the most important for quarterbacks. Again, you could disagree with me, but this is what I based it off of. I based it off of passing yards per game. So we're not going off of total passing yards, because if you play for 30 years, you're going to have the most passing yards. So I did passing yards per game, completion percentage, touchdown percentage, which is it's the percentage of throws that you've thrown that are touchdowns. Again, Tom Brady's going to have the most touchdowns in NFL history. That's not fair, okay? He played the longest out of everyone. So we're going touchdown percentage, interception percentage, passer rating, and championships. So championships are weighted in this as well, because I do value championships, but they are not everything. If they were everything, then what's that one basketball player that everyone says would be number one championship? I forget that analogy. Bill Russell. Bill Russell would be better than Michael Jordan, and that's not the case. So, good job. Anyway, so let's just get right into this, starting with number 10, a very, very exciting one that everyone knows and loves, Sid Luckman. This starts with the old timers, okay? I told you I had to do it. You just have to. So my guy Sid Luckman wore his leather helmet, and he was actually very, very good back in the good old days, okay? So the thing with Sid Luckman is he had the highest touchdown percentage out of any other quarterback from his era. He also won the second most championships out of anyone in his era, which is kind of ridiculous. And he was literally third when it comes to passer rating from his era. So my guy, Sid Luckman, for back in the day, was a gunslinger, okay? Now, why is he only 10? Well, first of all, his name's Sid Luckman. If I put him any higher, I'm going to have a rebellion in the comments. Second of all, he didn't throw that much. I'm not going to lie. He does not have many passing yards, but he won tons of championships. He was an iconic player for back in the day, had a good touchdown percentage, so I decided to put Sid Luckman number 10. Now, number 9. This is going to be very controversial when we look back and see who I didn't put on the list, okay? This one, almost no one agrees with, actually. Like, actually 0 people that I could find agree with me. But my number 9 quarterback of all time is Terry Bradshaw. And I am not a Steelers fan, I swear. This is not bias. I'm an Eagles fan, okay? And I have 0 Eagles on this list because we stink. But, yeah, Terry Bradshaw. Now, why would I put him on a list with the greatest quarterbacks ever? And I said it wasn't just going off of championships. Reason why? He was actually a pretty darn good quarterback. Now, the championships do help. He's tied with Bradshaw with the most championships in his era. And you might say, well, Terry Bradshaw had such a loaded team around him that that's why he won. And you would be right. Except he also played amazing in all of the championship games. His passer rating in championship games and Super Bowls is almost double what it was in the regular season. So Terry Bradshaw stepped it up when it mattered. Also, he was literally 2nd in touchdown percentage, and he was 5th in passing yards per game. Now, both of those are pretty impressive. The one thing he didn't do is he didn't complete a lot of his passes. I'm not going to lie, he had a pretty bad completion percentage. But still, for number 9 on the list, for having tied for the most championships in his era, having the 2nd most touchdown percentage, and having the 5th most yards, I mean, that's not bad in my opinion. But, again, I'm just going to be disagreeing with everyone in the comments on that one, because no one's putting him there. Now, number 8. This might be a very bad time to say this opinion. This might be a very not good opinion right now. I did this list about 3 weeks ago, okay? So don't judge me. Number 8 is Aaron Rodgers. Now, why did I put Aaron Rodgers number 8? There are a lot of great quarterbacks from this 2000s era. What makes him different? He's number 1 in touchdown percentage. He's number 1 in interception percentage. Those 2 stats are insane because that means he threw the most touchdowns on all of the throws that he made out of any other quarterback in his era, and he threw the least amount of interceptions out of any quarterback in his era. That is absolutely ridiculous. He also has the highest passer rating out of anyone in his era, and currently, if he were to retire today, he has the highest passer rating in the history of football. So when you put it that way, I mean, he deserves to be number 8. Also, Rodgers won a Super Bowl, so it's not like he's a 0 like Dan Marino. He at least won 1. And to be completely fair, this might sound like excuses, but just my personal opinion, he should have at least won 1 more in these NFC Championship games he always loses due to his defense. So, again, might sound like excuses, but that's just my opinion. Number 8. I think that one is reasonable. Number 7. I put Drew Brees. Now, I love Drew Brees, and I would have loved to put him higher than 7. But sadly, he's just not higher than 7. The thing with Drew Brees is he actually has the most passing yards per game out of anyone in his era, and the highest completion percentage, which isn't going to surprise many people if you watch Drew Brees. He also has the 2nd highest passer rating. When it comes to touchdowns, he's 5th, which isn't the best. Tony Romo is ahead of him. That's just disgusting. And he won 1 Super Bowl. So the thing is, unlike Aaron Rodgers, he's had many opportunities in the Super Bowl. Well, not in the Super Bowl, but in championship games and playoff games where he had an absolutely loaded team with tons of offensive weapons and a loaded defense. and he still lost. So that I do have to hold against him. Also, he was just such a boring quarterback. Like, I do hold it against him a bit that he never really had the arm like Rodgers, or the arm like, I don't know, say like Brett Favre. Like, he never really impressed anyone with his throws. Now, I love Drew Brees. I love his style of play. But I think 7 is I think that's a good spot for him. I don't think he should be higher than that. Putting him higher would be a little bit disrespectful to some of these top-tier quarterbacks, I think. Now, number 6, this one is going to be rough in the comments, I think. Not because I have him on the list, but because he's not higher. This is a quarterback that some people put number 2 ever. And I'm going to try to debunk why he shouldn't be. The one and only Peyton Manning. Okay, now, why is Peyton Manning this low on my list? Number 6. First of all, there are 2 players from the 60s that are above him. And I have to put them on the list scattered throughout, okay? So it's not as bad as it looks. Second of all, let's look at Peyton Manning's career, okay? So Peyton Manning was 4th in passing yards per game. He was 5th in completion percentage. He was 2nd in touchdown percentage, which is pretty good. But one of the things he was highly criticized for, he's not even in the top 5 in his era in interception percentage. He threw a lot of picks. He was not careful with the football. Donovan McNabb, Alex Smith, and Matt Ryan are better than him for interception percentage. That is not good at all. That has to be held against him. He also is only 5th in passer rating. Again, Tony Romo is above him. That is problematic. Now, he does have 2 Super Bowls, which I did give him credit for. He also has 5 MVPs, which is absolutely ridiculous. And that's the main argument for Peyton Manning. But the problem is, he should have won more than 2 Super Bowls, and his last one was not really him. It was the Broncos defense, which was one of the best defense I dare to say ever. It's the best defense I've ever seen in my time watching football. And, yeah, they just carried him to a Super Bowl, essentially. He really only won 1 Super Bowl where he carried the team. That was with the Colts. And he had many, many opportunities with absolutely loaded teams that he did not convert on. He also lost to Tom Brady multiple times, which is why I put him number 6. I mean, yeah. Argue with me all you want. I'm not changing it. Okay, number 5, another old-timer, Otto Graham, okay? Again, I have to put the old-timers on. I'm going to keep repeating that, because I might get a lot of crap for that. My guy, Otto Graham, back in the day, was 4th in passing yards per game. He was 4th in touchdown percentage. He was number 1 in passer rating, and he had the 3rd most championships of his time. He was an all-around great quarterback. He was great before the NFL even became the NFL. He won so many championships in other leagues. And he's just an iconic member of that old-time squad when it comes to quarterbacks. So I have to put him number 5. I'm not going to really harp much more on that. He's number 5. Number 4, the one who I believe is actually the most underrated quarterback of all time, Steve Young. Now, many people actually don't even put Steve Young in their top 10, and to that I say, that is absolutely ridiculous. He is 100% a top 10 quarterback. I might have him a little bit overrated at number 4, but I did want to prove the point that he is an all-time great quarterback. Now, why do I say that? Where is the evidence to support it? Well, all you have to do is just look at his numbers. Number 1 in completion percentage, number 1 in touchdown percentage, number 4 in interception percentage, number 1 in passer rating. And this is in the era with Joe Montana, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Troy Aikman, Rich Gannon. Well, Rich Gannon's not all that good. I shouldn't really say. Whatever. But there were some very good quarterbacks during his time, is my point. John Elway just came to my mind. and he was number 1 in touchdown percentage, passer rating, and completion percentage. That is absolutely ridiculous. Also, he did win some championships. Now, I think he won 1 as the starter and 2 as the backup, so the backups don't count, so he won 1 championship. The thing is, people always just say, well, he was great because of the 49ers team. Now, you would be correct, and I do agree with you that they had a loaded team. The only thing is, he was actually above Joe Montana in a lot of these categories, right? So he had to be good on his own. You know what I mean? Because everyone thinks Joe Montana's good. I think Joe Montana's good. Notice I haven't said his name yet, and we're at number 4, okay? So he actually put up great numbers himself. He was a great quarterback. And also, he was one of the first quarterbacks to actually change the way the game was played. Back then, there weren't many quarterbacks that ran the ball and passed the ball. It was like him, Randall Cunningham, and a few others I can't remember off the top of my head. But, yeah, just his style of play, his insane stat lines, and he did win a championship, is why I think he deserves to be number 4. Now, number 3 is the last old-timer on the list. And this one, some people might actually not be mad at just because of the iconic name, and that name is Bart Starr. Bart Starr was definitely the best quarterback from the 60s and before. He was before the 60s, I believe. He was number 1 in completion percentage in his era. He was number 5 in interception percentage, which is okay. He was number 4 in passer rating, but he won the most championships out of anyone in his era, and I'm pretty sure he's second place in most championships in NFL history, just to Tom Brady, which, I mean, if you come second to Tom Brady in anything, I'd say you're pretty good. So, Bart Starr, pretty much good in every single category for a quarterback, as well as winning the second most championships ever, puts him at number 3. I think that's a fair place to put him, especially because you have to scatter some old-timers around the list. Okay, now number 2 is Joe Montana. Now, Joe Montana, I think, should be pretty much a lock for number 2 on most lists. Again, a lot of people put Peyton Manning. I just don't think that's fair to load a bunch of 2000s quarterbacks into the top 3 or 4 as well. That's like recency bias. It's just not... Just because they played more recently and you didn't get to see Joe Montana play, you have to take his era and what he did in his era into consideration. And what did he do in his era? Well, he was number 2 in completion percentage. He was number 3 in interception percentage. He was number 2 in passer rating. And he obviously won the most championships in his era, tied with Terry Bradshaw. Now, he was just great. He was great in all of the stat categories, and he won those 4 championships. And you might say, he had a loaded team. Well, I mean, a lot of players have loaded teams, and they don't win Super Bowls. Flashback to when the Steelers had the best wide receiver and the best running back in the NFL, and Ben Roethlisberger couldn't win the Super Bowl or even get to the Super Bowl. I'm referring to the team with Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, by the way. Definitely should have been a Super Bowl appearance at least, but he didn't, so he's not on the list. Yeah, so a lot of quarterbacks don't even make Super Bowls with loaded teams. He won 4. So that excuse just doesn't work in my opinion. Also, he was clutch. He has some insane clutch moments. The one that just pops into my mind is the one where he makes that perfect throw to the tight end, I believe, right in the back of the end zone. I can't completely remember it, but I remember watching tons of clutch moments from Joe Montana. He's just a great quarterback, good in every stat category. The championships are great, so I put him number 2. And whether you like it or not, because I sure know I don't like it, the number 1 quarterback of all time should be Tom Brady, okay? It should just be Tom Brady. I'm sorry. It just is. You can't argue with it. I've watched so many of those videos that are like, proof Tom Brady isn't the best quarterback of all time. They raise decent points, but in the end, his resume is just too good to argue with. He's 5th in passing yards per game. He's number 4 in touchdown percentage. He's number 2 in interception percentage. He's 3rd in passer rating. He's number 1 in championships, not just in his era, but of all time in NFL history. He won 6 with the Patriots, and he went to another team and won 1 his first year there in a pandemic season. You have to give him credit for all of the above. He is by far the best quarterback of all time. Again, I am very open to disagreements and all that in the comments section. If you disagree, share your opinion. But Tom Brady's a hard one to argue with, I feel. Now, who are some of the big controversial names that I left off this list? Well, there are 3. We're going to start with the one that I think came closest and might have actually deserved to come on the list, is John Elway. He's a great quarterback. He's number 11, if I could have another 11. He fell victim to having all these old-timers on the list, which I believe is necessary. John Elway was great. The reason why I held him off is his stat categories just weren't that good for his time. He didn't rank in passing yards per game in the top 5. He didn't rank in completion percentage in the top 5. He didn't rank for touchdown percentage in the top 5. He didn't rank for interception percentage in the top 5. So when you don't rank in all of those important categories, you just don't belong on the list quite, especially when we're dealing with other quarterbacks in his era, like Joe Montana and Steve Young, who led their categories and won championships, right? And John Elway did win championships, don't get me wrong, but they were both kind of when he was over the hill. If there are any Broncos fans, they're going to tear me apart for this bit. But he was a bit over the hill when they won. They had, again, another great defense, like for Peyton Manning, and a really good running back, and a really good tight end, and good wide receivers. He kind of is just on a loaded team. They just needed an experienced quarterback to guide them, and he was that guy, and I do give him credit for that. But he just falls barely victim to not being on the list due to the old-timers, really. Now, the next one that was controversial, or would be controversial, is Dan Marino. Now, the thing is, what people always say, right, is Dan Marino was the biggest stat piler of all time, and I actually disagree with that. That's not why I held him off the list. I held him off the list because I looked at his stats, and they're still just, not even that good. I'm going to get criticized for this. He was number 1 in passing yards per game. I give him that. He was not in the top 5 for completion percentage. He was not in the top 5 for touchdown percentage. He was not in the top 5 for interception percentage. And he was not in the top 5 for passer rating. Now that is a problem. Also, he has 0 Super Bowls to even help him with those stats. So when you're looking at it compared to some of these other quarterbacks during his time, I just can't put him there, even though he was a great quarterback. You can't even use the excuse he had bad teams, because he actually played for some good teams with some decent talent, and he just wasn't good enough to get them there, in my opinion. That one people are going to disagree with, but, I'm all for discussion in the comments. Now, the last one is probably the one I have the strongest opinion about, and this is going to make some people mad as well. Brett Favre. He's probably not in my top 15. I don't know what the hype is. Please, I want someone to explain to me what the hype is about Brett Favre. I know he was great to watch. I know he had a rocket of an arm, but really the stats, they just don't really line up with all the hype. He's not top 5 in passing yards. He's not top 5 in completion percentage. He's not top 5 in touchdown percentage. He's not top 5 in interception percentage. He's not top 5 in passer rating. And he's tied with Drew Brees for championships and Kurt Warner for championships, which is 5th for his era. I just don't see the hype, to be completely honest. I don't know what stat category he really rules over. I know he rules over passing yards for his career, But again, it's because he played forever. He came out of retirement like 20 different times. He just completely padded his stats career-wise by having crappy years with teams where he threw tons of interceptions late in his career and just racked up the stats essentially. Again, I don't take that into consideration. That's why I go by per game stats. And yeah, I just don't understand. And that's not even including the fact that he choked multiple playoff games with having very bad decision making, which he had his entire career. And he threw some of the most crazy interceptions I've ever seen, where it looks like he's legitimately throwing it to the defense. So, again, he's a great quarterback. We're talking like 15th best of all time. That's still great. He's just not in that tier with some of these other quarterbacks, in my opinion. Talent-wise, yes. But career-wise, I don't think so. Okay, that was a lot of talking. I literally did this all in one thing. I know nobody's going to watch this whole thing, most likely. But hopefully maybe skip around, watch some. I want to debate in the comments. That was the whole point of making this video. I want to debate in the comments. And yeah, I hope you did enjoy. And I'll be back to making Madden content starting tomorrow. So yeah, peace.